going on, fam? Hope everybody's doing fine today. It is Thursday. Time for another Relationship Thursday. Just going to give it a few minutes to let some other people join in with us. Whew. I got some topics, some serious topics, some serious topics, some serious topics tonight. Good gracious. One brother is having some serious problems with child custody, and that's serious. Child custody is something that a lot of people have to take very serious. Hey, Marquita. Hey, Brittany. I got an issue tonight about sex with married people. Now, sex is serious. So we're gonna get pretty deep tonight, pretty deep, especially when we talk about the sex. The sex is going to be one of those serious conversations. Hey Nora, hey Erica, hey Deshaun. But tonight's going to be a really good thing. I had one brother send me an inbox, and he wanted some tips on dating. So that's where we're going to start. We're going to talk about ways that men can really, get better at dating, because dating is a lost art. So let's get started. So we'll talk about dating. Gentleman inboxed me and said, can you give me some tips on how to be better at dating? All right. Now, the main thing about dating, fellas, is this. You have to understand. Dating has to be a unique experience for any woman that you decide to date. Unique. Before you go on dates, this is what you need to do. You need to know what's in the city. You need to go out and find what the city has to offer. You need to go to somewhere other than Papados or Spondivits and see what the city of Atlanta has for you to use, for you to get to know, for you to really understand good places to take someone on a date. This is before you go on a date. Once you discover what the city has to offer, the next thing you can do is you can figure out what you can do for X amount of dollars. So my recommendation, first of all, is you don't do expensive first dates. You keep everything, personally, you keep everything below $60. $60 is your cap, and you can do a phenomenal date just for $60 with someone you're getting to know. Now, I mean this from my perspective. So when you're looking to date a woman, the first thing is to know what the city has to offer. Find some quaint spots, find some really special spots, some good spots that would really make a memory when you take someone on a date. Not everybody will get to go to these places. Some people will get to go to a few other places, but you still want to have that in your repertoire so that if you say you really like this woman and you really want to get to know her better, you wouldn't just take her down to the Ferris wheel. You would take her somewhere special. And the only way you'll know somewhere special is for you to get out and explore what the city has to offer before you go on a date. The next thing that you have to do is you have to talk to her and find out what she likes without asking her, hey, you like seafood? Or, you like steak? No, you can't be that blunt about it. You have to have conversations with her. You have to really engage her so that she gives you this information so that when you're ready to date her, you've listened. And then you found a way to take her places and to do things that are specifically tailored to her. That's the big deal right there. That you take her places that she knows that you listened. And you took the places that you've already discovered around the city, and you've coupled that with what she likes. So yeah, you definitely have to make sure that you take her places based on conversation that you know she'll like. You wouldn't take a woman who's not into sports of any type to Top Golf. It could be a fun outing, but if she's just not enthusiastic about dating, that's just not going to cut it. Next thing, and I want you to understand this one clearly. When you go on this date, be a complete gentleman. Complete gentleman. I mean, do the things you're supposed to do just from having good manners, and sustain those things. Now, if you can't spend, $300 on a date consistently, don't take her to a $300 a date restaurant for the first date. Don't do that unless you can sustain that. If you can't, if you don't expect to continue to open her door for her every time she gets out of the car or every time she walks into a door, don't start that way because the woman's just not going to let you slide back and be okay with it. It's just not. So you start inexpensive. What you also do is you tailor the date to her by knowing what's in the city, and you definitely don't oversell what you're able to do. You don't start something that you can't sustain with any woman. Last thing, and this is the last dating tip that I'm going to give you. Pay attention to what she does on the date. Make sure you understand how she responds to what you're doing. If you take her to a place, and I'll say Topgolf again, and she's not really feeling it, she's not getting into it, and it's not fun, have a plan B. Be man enough to say, okay, this isn't working. Let me go to plan B. Just don't say, oh, we're going to Topgolf and that's it. Or we're going to the movies and that's it. Make sure that you're able to read her body language, read what, she's enjoying, and then switch, pivot if you have to go somewhere else. Just be smart about it. That's the main thing. So make sure you know the city, know what the city has to offer. Make sure that you plan the date for her specifically. Not every woman is going to respond to the same thing the same way. Keep it simple and inexpensive and be a gentleman. Do things that you can sustain. And the last thing is, if the date isn't going so well, have a plan B that you can pivot and try something different. Again, not every person is made for everybody. Some of the dating stuff just may not work out between the two of you. It just is what it is. But if it does work, and these things do resonate with her, you'll get a second date. And that second date should progress more than the first date. Okay. Now, I mean progress as far as the amount of effort that you put into the date. Now, just don't go overboard. Don't try to impress a woman with money and all this other stuff. Just keep it simple and be who you are. And that'll take you further than anything else that I can recommend that you do. All right. Fair enough. That was an easy question. Easy question. Now it gets a little deeper. Let me turn my page because I took some notes on this next scenario. I'll start with the child support. A young brother inboxed me, said, I have court-ordered visitation, but my ex-wife still denies me access to our son. She won't give me my son's cell phone number, his basketball schedule, and constantly has her boyfriend playing father to my son. What should I do? Now, you got to understand something. This is a man who was married to a woman who had a child in wedlock, and they are divorced now. He has court-ordered visitation rights, and his ex-wife is still denying him child support, and he's asking me what he should do. Okay, this is what I told him, because whenever anybody inboxes me, I have conversations with them so I have a full understanding of what they're talking about and what they're going through. Here's the thing. If you have court-ordered child support and you are being denied, then your wife or the non-custodial parent or the custodial parent, whomever is violating the decree of the court, is in violation. So you can actually go to court and petition the court to, unfortunately, go after the wife because she is not honoring what has been decreed by the court. Okay? You can do that. Now, when I presented this, he said that he did not want to make it a bad environment for the child. Here's my pushback to that. At some point, you have to put your foot down. If this is your child, this is your son, and you were married and in wedlock, and you have these rights, well, you need to stand on that. There's a point where you have to say, listen, I'm not going to let anybody keep me from my child. I'm not going to be violent. I'm not going to be belligerent. I'm not going to be mean-spirited, but I'm due my rights, and I'm going to see my child. I'm going to stand up for what I am as a man. You just can't sit back and let her say, I'm not going to give you the cell phone number. Okay, buy him a cell phone. Buy him a cell phone. If he says or she says, I'm not going to give you his basketball schedule, you know the name of the team. You look that team up, find their website, something. But you can do more than just sit back and let her bully you around. I just don't buy into that, because you have the court on your side, first of all. You have all your rights, second of all. And if you truly love your child, you're not looking for an excuse. There is nothing or no one that will stop you from being with your child. It just is what it is. So when he and I had this conversation, it wasn't adversarial. It was from the standpoint of, sometimes you have to be man enough to stand your ground and get what you are due. Now, here's the thing. I can guarantee you that she's doing all these things and she's pushing you around because you allow it. You let her push you around. Now, I don't know if there's something you hadn't told me, but if you have the court on your side, you love your son, and you want to see your son, and you're not doing it because she's not allowing it, that means you're letting her push you around. It is what it is. Again, you don't have to be violent. You don't have to be misogynistic, masochistic, none of that stuff. Just stand your ground. Now, if she is violating the court order, and she is, you don't want it to get to the level where law enforcement is involved. That's the absolute last straw. Absolute last straw. But you should go to court, and you should bring this up, and you should document these things. Because when you document these things and you show a record of willful disobedience to the decree, just violating what's there, then you're building your case to help you get access to your son. It just is what it is. So I love you, my brother. I mean, man to man, you got to man up on this one. You just got to do that. There's no way around it. So that's where we are with the court-ordered visitation not being honored by the ex-wife. I get a lot of stuff from married couples. I'm really glad about that part. The biggest thing about it, men, we got to continue to step up. We really got to continue to step up and do what we're supposed to do as men. This is that thing about leadership. We have to step into that role much more aggressively than we have recently. Now, listen, this last topic is serious. We all know that when couples get divorced, they get divorced over money, and they get divorced over sex or the kids. This one is about sex. Another brother, the men, I got to give it to the men. They've been giving me a lot of inboxes, and this one is another good one. My wife does not want to have sex. When I touch her sexually, she says things like, "Don't grope me." When I initiate sex, she pushes me away or offers to help me masturbate. Whew. It has been 6 months and we have had sex 4 or 5 times. She isn't even trying. I'm not happy. Give me your advice. 4 or 5 times in 6 months. All right, now being completely sensitive to this topic. If your wife just doesn't like sex, there may be something else there that the two of you may need to seek professional advice about. 4 or 5 times, if it's mutually agreeable, is one thing. But if you're initiating and she's saying things like, "Why are you groping me?" to her husband, that could be a sign that something deeper is there. Something deeper is blocking her from being able to enjoy sex. Now, as her husband, you do owe it to her to try to find common ground first through counseling. You do owe her that. You owe the marriage that. If you found common ground, you also owe the marriage an honest conversation. What else can I do to help you enjoy sex with me? A direct question. You're asking her, what else can I do to help you enjoy sex with me? Listen to what she says. If she says something like, I just don't like sex. Don't let her off the hook. That is not an answer. I'm asking you to help me help you enjoy having sex with me. Tell me what I need to do and I will do it. Show a willingness to help. What you're actually doing is you're putting her on the spotlight. She's either going to have to say what it is or you'll be able to feel what it is. Now, if you get to the point where she doesn't want to do counseling and she doesn't want to talk about it and she doesn't want to do anything to get better, you may have to consider that it could be someone else. And when I had this conversation with this brother about this, I told him honestly, she may be physically in tune with another man. If she's physically in tune with another man, it may be difficult for her to turn that off and then open it up for you. I mean, if 4 or 5 times in 6 months is alarming and without revealing too much about this couple, this is a couple that's in their mid-30s. 4 to 5 times in 6 months, that's a lot. Now, in asking this brother honestly, I said, hey, have you been true and have you been faithful to the marriage? He said that he has been. He doesn't want to be anymore. This is just as real as I can be about it. My advice to him was, if you're starting to feel like you don't want to be in the relationship anymore because of the lack of sex, before you turn to someone else, you exhaust every single option you can within the marriage. Every single one. That does include counseling. That does include having difficult conversations. That includes being open to the possibility that there was something traumatic that happened to her where someone violated her physically. You have to be open to all of those things because unfortunately, too often, our women are assaulted. They are molested, assaulted, so many things they have to endure. And then what happens is they pull that inside and they hold it inside and they build walls up to defense mechanisms to protect themselves from that pain. Now, I'm not saying that that's the right way to handle it. I'm just saying that's what could be happening. The bottom line of it is, be prepared for whatever happens. Because based on our conversation, you have not asked her what you can do to help her enjoy sex with you. You have not done that yet. So ask her, what can you do? And listen. And when you listen, you're listening from the standpoint of being open to anything. I mean, if she gives you some bad news, well, you're going to have to be there for worse now. This is the worst part that you have to help your wife get through. If she gives you some news that doesn't feel right, if it feels like, her energy is with another man, ask her, are you sleeping with another man? And sit back. If it comes out that it's, something medically wrong, if it's painful for her or something like that, be prepared to support her and help her through it. The bottom line of it is you have to say something. You can't bottle it up because bottling it up isn't helping. Last thing he and I talked about was the 4 to 5 times in 6 months. I asked him honestly, I said, how are you able to sustain? And he told me, through porn. Hey, I've watched porn before. I know a lot of people who have as well. What I can definitely tell you, though, is if you're watching porn in this situation, it can skew what's happening to you and your sexual energy. Because on one end, you got no sex. And then on the other end, you got hypersexuality. And that just doesn't work well together. It just doesn't. So you have to kind of get away. You have to get away from the porn part of it and get closer to what she closer to the relationship, because porn, although it can be kind of interesting, in this instance, it's not helping at all. You really have to find a way to connect emotionally with your wife to help bring about some connection sexually. You just, man, this is a tough topic, and yes, you are going to have to do the work to make this happen. It just is what it is. Ladies, I'm going to give you a freebie tonight. Those were three topics, but I'm going to give you something that I talked about earlier on a radio show I was on, and it talks about being sexy, and can you be sexy and covered up? Can you be sexy and still keep things, covered? Because we know how it is now. You can go to the club and women have on mesh and underwear at the club. You can see virtually everything. It just is what it is. And my comments were this. Yes, it's possible to be sexy and covered up. When we think about our grandparents, or we think about women like Lena Horne, or women like Diane Carroll or Diana Ross and Felicia Rashad, and all these women that we, for the most part, grew up looking at, and the way they carried themselves. Now, they were all having sex, but it's just a certain level of class and dignity that they walk with. And what it does, it just resonates to a different part of a man. It really does. Now, I like looking at a sexy woman. Love looking at a sexy woman. Some of the most beautiful women I've seen were in the doggone grocery store in some regular old sweatpants and a regular shirt and a cap. Absolutely killing it. Just killing it. You can be sexy and covered up. You can be just as dynamic and just as classy, fully clothed, because it's your attitude that's sexy. Your attitude makes you sexy. You can put on a pair of Chucks, a pair of jeans, and a regular old shirt and walk out there and kill it. You can kill it. So my point is this. Ladies, there's a certain amount of power that you have that when you harness that power, you are nearly unstoppable. And one part of it is channeling your powers of seduction, your powers of being alluring, your powers of beauty. Harness these things, because when it's harnessed, that means that you are in control of it. When it's all out, it's just flowing all over the place. And what it does for us is it pulls us in and it forces us to elevate our level. Most times when a woman is anti-class, most men come at that woman from a physical standpoint. He really ain't seeing nothing else but that scantily clad woman. But when the woman is looking classy, now some guys just, it doesn't matter. He's always going to say something ratchet. Some guys just going to do it. But when you are presenting yourself a certain way, and you, I hope it came back. When you carry yourself a certain way, though, is the point. We have to step our games up. Looks like I'm starting to get some connection problems, so I'm gonna wrap up. The bottom line of it is this, ladies: harness your power. Harness your power. Not everybody deserves some things. You keep close to the vest. One of the most dynamic things I ever heard a woman say to me that I was trying. You don't think that getting to know me is going to be easy, because it's not. I can handle that. What she did for me, getting to know me isn't going to be easy. I hope you don't think that it is. You're just saying that you're worth it. So again, I'm not some bitter dude out here. I'm not trying to be perfect. I'm just trying